So as we're talking about the mobile malware space, John, you have, I think, an example of a specific case that kind of catches you off guard a little bit.
I do. So this is a good segue, actually, because there's a recent mobile piece of mobile malware that came out, and it's using Facebook as somewhat of a lure mechanism. So what really happens, the way this Trojan works is you get your PC infected, your Windows machine infected, and it's got the Win32 Kadars Trojan on it. And what that does is when you're browsing, surfing the internet, it'll pop up. So it's injecting pop-ups onto your Windows browser to say, hey, Facebook has some new security mechanism, and we want to ensure that you're really safe and everything here. So please enter your phone number as another security measure, and we'll use that as like a second authentication. So what they do then is they text message you to your phone a link to install another application. And that is a rogue application that looks like it's coming from Facebook, but in reality it's a Trojan. It's actually a spyware toolkit, and it's side-loaded. So that's another thing. I think in John's he was talking about some of the mobile malware trends. Be very wary of side-loading type of things where you're installing from the Google Android App Store, or you're installing from a different app store. Anyway, so once that gets deployed on there, the spyware toolkit that gets put on there, it can monitor your cell phone calls, it can track your GPS location, can listen to ambient stuff going on. So it's a real good backdoor, eavesdropping type of remote administration toolkit type thing. Plus, it can intercept any of your SMS text messages, and that's really what this Trojan is geared towards, so that when they know your bank, because they already got your PC infected, now they've laterally moved over to your mobile device. So when you log into your bank, and your bank sends you a text message with your PIN or code to actually log in, you think, oh, this is great, I'm secure, I got two-factor authentication with my bank. Well, in reality, both of your devices are infected here, and now they can get into your bank account. So pretty crafty. I don't think it's the first case we've seen of this, but it's a pretty good illustration of how they're operating in this space here, and laterally moving to other devices besides just your Windows machine where you might be doing your banking from.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of the, we often talk about the sort of the lack of revolution in most security attack activities. There's a lot of evolution associated with it. There are lots of little small changes. I recall it was perhaps 3 years ago, it may have been actually more. It was actually, this was a case that was being worked by the FBI, if I recall correctly, where they were, and this was actually a banking activity or banking Trojan activity that was targeting Symbian operating systems. Android wasn't even in the mainstream at the time, and they were doing very much like you said. They were actually infecting PCs and then using the malware on the PC to prompt the user to say, we're going to ask you to download a piece of an application for your mobile device, and all it was about was getting to both those channels, get to the SMS channel that was used for the back channel authentication for banking sites. And so this is a variation on that, where they're using the Facebook moniker to help legitimize this notion of installing another application, which ultimately is the malware. So a very interesting story, and interesting in the sense that obviously they're trying to target a larger audience, but on top of that, the fact that it's continuing evolution of this type of attack.
Right.
Yeah, and the key protection that John already mentioned is not allowing side loading, not allowing apps to be loaded from the non-official stores. Because I think we talked about it on the show. There was a report in March from F-Secure that while Android was the target of 97% of the mobile malware, less than 1% of it actually came through the official Google Play Store.
Right.
Most of it was these third-party marketplaces, and we've talked about them a number of times. So, if you just don't allow things to install from the non-official stores, that cuts down your vulnerability a whole lot. It's not 100% foolproof, but Google has been very good about, as soon as they become aware of the malicious stuff in the official store, they get it out of there.
And there are other markets that are legitimate But the key here is making sure that you're using legitimate markets.
All right. There's also another indicator in here that I forgot to mention that people should be wary and notice, and the actual pop-up that you get is very poorly worded, very grammatically incorrect, which was another thing that I think John Markley there had mentioned in the spam aspect, but you can also see it somewhere in pop-ups and other websites that are trying to lure you into
Absolutely,
getting
one
tricked
of those
into
clues
installing
to be
malware.
looking for.